Well, spring has definitely sprung, and it is keeping the rain nearby, so that means you got to keep the jacket close.
Showers and storms will hit the eastern half of the country in multiple regions. Some of these could turn severe, so that's going to keep us on alert today and throughout the week. While any moisture is welcome for the southeast, this is not going to be drought-busting rain.
Yeah, so adding to our drought woes, we got to bring up another map to show you how the heat is going to be building back for so many of us, tapping into that warmth all across the country. Temps are already surging into the west. All right, we're talking triple digits, well into the triple digits for you. And as the week goes on, Bolly, this all spreads eastward.
Speaking of that, by this weekend, cities like Nashville and Atlanta, you are headed towards the 90s with little rain.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well, this is America's Morning Headquarters. I'm meteorologist Jordan Steele alongside meteorologist Molly McCollum. We got Jim Cantori in studio as well. I guess it's perfect timing. It's weird to believe school will be wrapping up in just a couple of weeks.
Well, depending on where you are.
Well, in the southeast, where you got temperatures in the 90s, now it's like going to be pool days.
2 weeks away from the end of school. Seeing a lot of graduation signs and everything. Jim, it's an exciting time of year. A lot of people outside this time of year too, and with that comes the severe weather threat.
Yeah, there will be a severe weather threat, especially down toward the Gulf.
In the afternoon.
Well, all of that is headed towards the 95 corridor, where we actually really do need the rain. This is going to be beneficial. We are going to wish probably after this one moves through that there was another one right behind it, because the drought situation has continued to deepen, expand here in the 95 corridor, and that really goes all the way down into the south. We've been talking about that for not just weeks, but months now. But I do want to also draw your attention to where we don't have any drought, and that is obviously the Midwest and the Great Lakes. It was an incredible April in the worst way, because we just saw storm event after severe weather event, rain, snow melt. I mean, it was an awful month in April when it came to the moisture, and so at this point we don't need another drop of rain. What moves through the Midwest and the Great Lakes is going to be very quick moving. As Jordan mentioned, some severe weather potential, but not a lot of potential for the rain to sit there and add up in a significant way. A little bit more significant as you get into the Northeast, particularly New England, and that's where, as we start to watch this system wind its way towards the eastern seaboard, it's actually going to linger in parts of New England, and the rain is also going to become more widespread. Up until that point, it's relatively moisture-starved. You can see how this becomes more widespread, more beneficial rain from the mid-Atlantic up through areas in, coastal parts of Maine, 95 corridor. That's where it's going to linger more likely throughout the day on Thursday as everyone else starts to clear out. Another factor with this is going to be the wind. Now, is the wind going to get strong enough that we start to see flight delays? I'd say first up would be Minneapolis to Chicago. That would be tomorrow, where some of those wind gusts, 35, 40 miles per hour, might be enough to push us into territory where we start to see some flight delays. But you can see winds not quite as strong as it moves into the 95 corridor. And behind this, we're actually going to see temperatures fall below average again, much cooler weather on the way for the second half of the week. Jim, we wish we could say the same for the desert Southwest.
Yeah, we could. Northwest cools off, but now we dry out and heat up.
It's going to be pretty hot by this weekend. Thanks, Jim. Well, let's get a look at the day ahead presented by Damp-Rid. Let's start in New York City. Why not, right? Because we have some rain along the 95 corridor this morning, but New York City is not one of those spots. We're in for what is mostly a comfortable day, 50s and 60s. Cloud cover. Second half of the day will likely make it feel a little bit cooler outside as opposed to having all sun. Charleston, rain coming in very light this afternoon. Charleston is definitely a spot where we could use some rain, as well as Nashville. Before we heat up towards the 90s this weekend, enjoy a couple of really nice days there. 70s, that starts today. Oh, absolutely. And even that, looking at that, that's still not going to be enough to end the drought for especially the worst areas in northern Florida and southern Georgia. Speaking of drought, we're actually going to see a system that moves across areas that do not need rain and have no drought, like the Midwest and the Great Lakes, into areas that do, like the 95 corridor. That's a spot where we've been seeing an expanding and deepening drought over the past couple of months. There's our quick moving system. Parts of the northern tier, Great Lakes, some rain. It's not going to be anything like what we saw well in April. Just go ahead and say that. I know, and anytime you see a brand new system move into the region, you're like, really? Again, this is going to be relatively moisture starved as it moves across this area. But that being said, there is the potential for some destabilization with the atmosphere, daytime heating, some stronger winds converging ahead of this front that could promote some thunderstorm development. If we do see some stronger thunderstorms, we're talking straight line damaging wind and hail potential. But look at just how moisture starved this is. We really don't see a lot of rain. What we do see is relatively quick moving, some more intense rain there moving through central Indiana by the time we get to very early Wednesday morning. All of this continues to make some progress to the east. As it does, we actually see more widespread rain and moisture potential. Here's the severe weather threat, mainly for West Virginia. This is on Wednesday, but it does include Pittsburgh all the way down to areas like Roanoke. And a place like Pittsburgh, we'd actually see 2 rounds of storms come through, one with some, rain in the morning time, and then enough recovery that we will see the potential for some thunderstorms in the afternoon. Here are the rainfall chances, the most rain expected here in New England. Welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. Travel plans along the I-10 corridor, beware, especially around New Orleans today. We are expecting more rain, heavy rain at that, and thunderstorms anywhere from, say, Houston, New Orleans, all the way through areas in the Florida Panhandle, Jacksonville, even Orlando could see some flight delays with some afternoon thunderstorms as we're edging closer and closer to rainy season here in Florida. That's much anticipated, right? Just because the drought and the fire situation has gotten so bad. 95 corridor looking good today with a few exceptions around Washington, D.C., Baltimore. Rain this morning and continuing throughout the day, likely to cause some slowdowns. I'm not anticipating a lot, but some slowdowns. Looking great tomorrow. This is ahead of our next system that's going to be moving in. Where that system is coming from? Well, actually parts of the Midwest where we're doing great today. Tomorrow you can see a few of those slowdown potentials. And it's not so much the rain in Minneapolis. It's going to be more the wind, where we could see wind gusts 35, 40 miles per hour. We're eventually going to follow that to the east into the 95 corridor. The west looking good travel wise, but my goodness, is it going to be warm in the desert southwest? And that is going to continue day after day after day until we eventually see a pattern change towards the end of the week. Jordan, Jem?